for Trinidad and Tobago. It was a day of joy that began with tears of sadness as a disaster the likes many have not seen before, with 2 hours of rainfall that caused havoc across Carenage into Santa Cruz and other parts of Trinidad. Tonight we bring you reports from our crews on the ground, and we begin with this report from Samson Nanton, working with cameraman Neil Romain.
It did not last long, just 2 hours of rainfall for what many say is likely the worst disaster they've seen. This is La Hoquette Road in Glencoe, the river having overflowed its banks. The houses here stood little chance, the cars on the road too. But just a stone's throw away, the real effect of the disaster was becoming more apparent. The road completely washed away. Residents who live further up could do nothing but look on as works crew assessed the damage. This left close to 2,000 people living further up the road completely marooned, but there was hope.
As you see, the bridge sort of low, and with all the debris and that came down from the flooding, it blocked the entrance of the bridge. So you had no hydraulic capacity, so everything came on the road, and that is what caused the road to fail. Wasser lines fail, a cylinder crossing fail. So what we're going to do is, the first thing we have to do, have materials coming. We're going to use a revetment, reinstate portion of the roadway so Wasser could get back the two mains. Once that has happened, then the next step is to get back the cross drain, and then hopefully in a few hours' time we could have the road temporarily reinstated so people get in and out.
Further up, the entire road destroyed. Many of the residents living here telling us the water came gushing down the hill early this morning, ripping the asphalt completely apart. One man was injured and had to be taken by the military to the area beyond the broken road to be carried for treatment. Across at Professor Einstein Avenue in Petite Valley, residents threw buckets of water out of their houses. They too hard hit.
Everything gone, everything is destroyed. Yeah, basically. That's about it. Yeah, take a look. Go on. Well, we cleaned out most of it, but you can see water line inside the house and stuff like that. Right. You know, all the furniture, where the fridge, the stove, everything, beds, everything started floating away.
Almost everywhere in the vicinity, streets caked with thick layers of mud. Across the highway, TSTT also hard hit. A car lies toppled in their Diego Martin station. The wall gone, cables affected. Wherever we went, more and more of the disaster. Furniture destroyed, people doing what they could to clean up, others outside walking with supplies. In the air, helicopters with the authorities surveying the damage. On the ground, heavy equipment and emergency crew mobilized by the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Management. Diego Martin has seen flooding before, but not quite like this. And the chilling sounds no one wants to hear. As an ambulance rushed by taking the injured to hospital, in some cases electricity and telephone services went down, making this an even more difficult task to deal with as cleanup operations continued very late into the evening. For CNC3, I'm Samson Nanton.
And it was tragedy with 2 lives lost in the Diego Martin area as heavy rains brought the hillsides down, leading to houses and collapse. But cameraman Vern Tickerson with Charlene Ramdani brought back this report.
It happened in a heartbeat. The heavy rain started around 4 o'clock this morning, and the saturated hills of Diego Martin could not hold. In the hills of La Puerta, 31-year-old Everett Benton was asleep in his bed when the land under his house slipped away. As his house collapsed, he didn't stand a chance.
And my cousin come and call me, and he said my aunt's house fall down, so I just ran outside. I asked if everybody outside, to say my cousin Everett still inside, right? And due to the fact that how the dirt itself come down, it cover his bed. And we had to like look for him. We didn't know where he was because how the whole house break down. We didn't know if he back or the front. But we dig, and we was able to at least find a leg and able to pull him out.
7 people were in the house at the time. His pregnant sister was saved, but his mother was taken to hospital with a broken leg. National Security Minister Jack Warner visited the area and heard the Benton's family grief firsthand.
I have to dig him out and pull him out. Like if he's old clothes, I shouldn't have to dig him out and pull him out like old clothes because of lack of drain, because lack of what? Facility up here. Come on, we need something, sir.
Minister Warner promised help.
The balance of people was in the house, his mother, his sister and them, they have no way. No, right now, because the whole house on the ground.
Yeah, I didn't know.
And if it, when the hospital, she foot break, because I was a run up and help, she come down, we coming down skating, right? That's my sister, right? And
Give me a number and name. Give me a number and name. I will contact Minister Munial this morning. I will liaise with you about a place for them to be relocated. In the short term, for 3 months.
The former Minister of Works said the attention needs to be kept on hillside development.
And more it's becoming apparent that this is the top priority because we have to regulate the hillsides where people live, how they build and so on. And the longer we stay to do that, is the more difficult it will be for us and for the people themselves.
The politics in the middle of the destruction would continue as everyone clamoured to get the heir of the minister in La Puerta.
Son, but in 2 years, this hasn't happened over 2 years. No, this is years of neglect. And it's not important, it's not years of neglect. And it's not important to know who neglected it. It's PNM, UNC.
No, I know
the people want to get a
place fixed. What I'm saying is the resources of the country should be used for these kind of things.
Minister Warner was met in La Puerta by the MP for the area, opposition leader Dr. Keith Rowley.
Yes, I'm very pleased to see that the Minister of National Security responded promptly because national security has some capacity to respond. And I heard the Minister of Works on the radio because he's very familiar with the area. And he's also familiar and he says he's mobilizing the resources. What I have not seen are the actual hands yet. So I'm hoping that as soon as the rain stops, these hands will be in place to begin the cleanup and there would be some reconstruction required in 1 or 2 areas.
The councillor for the area blamed years of neglect for the destruction.
I think it's the lack of infrastructure in Glencoe and La Puerta for the past 20-odd years has resulted in a young boy dying today. We've been begging for the past 2-3 years now to get some drainage, get some works in here. While we have been able to get some, as you can clearly see, the whole area is in a mess. Everybody's house that is probably standing around today has been affected some way. Some people have lost everything. You know, houses are still in the process of coming down. We have roads that are impassable up there now. And we're asking the authorities and the government right now to give us as much help as we could get in La Puerta.
Politics or not, it's of no consolation to the Benton family tonight. Reporting for CNC3 News, I'm Charlene Ramdani.
And another tragedy just a few miles away in the Rich Plains area. This tragedy minutes away from the first as another man was killed when his house collapsed. Again, cameraman Vern Tickersing and Charlene Ramdani were on the scene.
The family of Solomon Brito stood weeping in the rain at the side of a ravine at the bottom of Rich Plain Road in Diego Martin. They looked on as fire services tried to free the body of their uncle, Solomon Brito. Entangled in the debris, the body was barely visible. It proved to be a challenge for the work crews to get it out. The family's ordeal started 6 hours earlier as the heavy rains literally washed a portion of their house and their uncle Solomon's house away. Solomon Brito was not as lucky as his family.
We just hear this crushing song, this gush of water just came down and just washed he had a 1-bedroom apartment with dining room, kitchen, and that just washed everything in his part and part of his niece's house. And after we start looking for him, and then they locate the body down here. We start looking for him up there under where the debris was by his house there, because we start taking out all the rubbles and what so forth.
It's taken the fire services more than 2 hours now to recover the body of 66-year-old Solomon Brito. Mr. Brito, a father of one, lived on his own in Rich Plains, Diego Martin. We understand at around 5 o'clock this morning, his house collapsed and his body washed 2 miles downstream. Residents told us earlier when they heard Mr. Brito was missing, they mounted a search for him. They found his body here, trapped under tons of debris.
The villagers said they used the light from their cell phones and their bare hands to get to the body.
Huh?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. We just had to keep our eyes open. Rumors were spreading that the body was missing, so we just, out of curiosity, just looking.
Once they spotted it, they waited for the police to arrive. A crowd of hundreds gathered to watch the search and rescue crews retrieve the body. The rain never dampened their curiosity. Reporting for CNC3 News, I'm Charlene Ramdani.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, has described today's heavy rains and floods as the worst ever experienced in this country. And while she's thankful that more lives were not lost, the Prime Minister has declared Diego Martin a disaster zone and says no effort will be spared to help those affected, as well as getting all communities back on their feet. Chester Sambrano reports.
12 hours after a 2-hour heavy downpour of rain hit northwestern Trinidad and wreaked havoc, Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar arrived via helicopter to get a first-hand look at the damage. Accompanied by several cabinet ministers and heads of various agencies, including the police, fire service and the defense force, Mrs. Persad-Bissessar made her way down a blocked-off Diego Martin highway. Upon request, the Prime Minister crossed the median to speak with some of the affected persons. The Prime Minister says Saturday's rainfall was the heaviest rainfall experienced in 50 years.
I'm advised that the last time we had rainfall of this nature was in 1962.
Mrs. Persad-Bissessar says because of the massive flooding and the damage it caused, drastic action now needs to be taken.
Today I want to declare this area a disaster area and that we pledge emergency relief funding for the area, for recovery of the families who have been affected in the area.
The Prime Minister says she has mandated ministers to bring proposals to Cabinet in order to release the necessary funding. The Prime Minister also expressed a deep regret for the lives which were lost during the disaster.
We give our condolences to the families and our best wishes for those who are reported missing but not yet confirmed.
But while he too is saddened by the loss of life, head of the ODPM, Dr. Stephen Ramup, says it could have been much worse.
Compared to some of the developed countries, this was one of the best first response that you can look at.
Dr. Ramup says every agency appropriately responded to Saturday's disaster. For CNC3, I am Chester Sambrano.
And the chairman of the Diego Martin Regional Corporation, Alan Sami, says this latest deluge to hit western Trinidad is not worse than the one last year. Sami told us, CNC3 News, that different community centers have been activated after he declared the area to be an emergency zone.
Speaking to CNC3 News moments after fire services crew retrieved the body of a Rich Plain man killed after the heavy rains, the chairman of the Diego Martin Regional Corporation, Alan Sami, said he recognized things would have been bad in his region from early this morning.
And after viewing certain areas, I declared a level 1 emergency. And therefore, I called out all the staff of the Diego Martin Regional Corporation, and I called also on because I saw what the weather was looking like, I called on all the services like the ODPM, I called my line minister, Suraj Rambachan, Minister Rambachan, I called on CPEP, URP, and in fact, I opened an EOC office at my office on the Diego Martin Main Road, so we could conduct all operations from there.
He told us that they had been receiving reports from all directions and almost the entire western part of Port of Spain was affected. However, he said people needed to exercise patience.
Many areas, because many areas were flooded. Many areas had water in people's houses up to 4 to 5 feet, some 6. We had many areas with landslides and landslips. But people need to understand too, in the case of landslides in particular, we can't move rubble quickly because it will bring down the rest. We have to leave it to do a little dry out period. Okay, so basically we're on the road.
So far, 2 community shelters have been made available.
We have just opened the Diego Martin Central Community Center as the first shelter. So people from this region here, Rich Plain, Cookreet, Pity Valley and so on, can go to that shelter. If there's need to open another shelter, we will open one at the La Ceiba Community Center in Maraval, which we had opened the last time.
Reflecting on the devastation that last November's rains left, Sami said this time was not as bad.
It's worse than
last time? It was last November, was it?
I wouldn't say it's worse. I really wouldn't. What I would say, different areas now have flooded because we attended to as many of the water courses along with the Ministry of Works, and we had a lot of the underground drains that we got help cleaning. We used the gully sucker from the Port of Spain Corporation. In fact, we had an operation with the gully sucker this morning that we had to cancel.
Reporting for CNC3 News, I'm Charlene Ramdani.
And as we are reporting, it was a day of untold tragedy as most of the country awoke to news of major flooding and landslides in western and northern Trinidad. But by mid-afternoon, the country got a reason to smile as it got its second gold medal in 36 years at the Olympics, all thanks to 19-year-old Kershawn Walcott. The youngest one delivered TNT's first gold medal at the London Games with the impressive throws, leaving his competitors in the dust. The 19-year-old also has become the youngest ever to win a gold medal in the javelin finals and also the first person outside of Europe to do so at an Olympics. Now, at his home in Toko, cameraman Ramnanan Gopichan was on hand to get his family's immediate reaction at the magical moment. And the Prime Minister, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, also gave immediate reaction to the gold medal win.
Thank you, Jesus. Yeah. Oh, God, no matter what you had it, you had it good. Can I believe that, right? Hello? Yeah, man. Everybody.
One more to throw.
Yeah, you're supposed to throw one, but the man said, man, pass it, so he come like that, you know?
Oh,
it's just a throw, yeah. Wow. Whoa. Yes,
I believe it just happened by accident because that happened when he was already going composite at an old age too. Because he started off with the cricket and the football, and then, I don't know, it's just a few years ago, maybe 3-4 years, he started throwing the javelin, you know. I don't even know what to say. I know I'm getting my flowers. That is all I asked him for. Of course I did. And I know I'm getting my flowers.
We got a very golden line in today as we congratulate Kershawn Walcott, young man and young son of Trinidad and Tobago out of Toko, 19-year-old, who has won the championship, the gold medal at the Olympics in London. And as if that was not enough, I'm now advised that Trinidad and Tobago has also won bronze in the 4x100 meters relay. Can we congratulate Team TNT out to the Olympics?
A day of great mixed emotions for us in Trinidad and Tobago, grief and tremendous joy. And of course, we'll continue the coverage after the break.
It's gonna be a great day. Got my juicing up, hey. Let's focus, people. Come on and get it sorted. Get more out of your day. Get things done efficiently. Let's go with it. Come on and just drink it, people. Drink it up now. Drink it up now. Ginseng up now. Ginseng up now. Oh, enjoy the new look and same great taste today. Ginseng up, the roots of all power.
It's a mission. This is our vision. Making it happen. We're making a difference. Here and now, across the land, Trinidad and Tobago. Open your eyes and realize there's so much waiting for you.
Republic Bank Limited, in collaboration with TNT Blind Welfare Association, present Vision Caravan from May to September 2012 throughout rural Trinidad and Tobago. Come have your eyes tested and experience a new vision. See press for details.
Open your eyes, become aware, make use of what's here for you. Be part of the vision now.
In celebration of Republic Bank's 175th anniversary, Vision Caravan.
This is Let's Talk Tobago.
Be viewing Let's Talk Tobago every Sunday at 6:25 p.m. on CNC3. Let's Talk Tobago, keeping you abreast of Tobago's development. Join us every Sunday at 6:25 p.m. as we talk Tobago, and let's build the nation of Trinidad and Tobago together.
Welcome back. One family, including their one-year-old baby, escaped possible death and serious injury as their home was destroyed by a landslide in Cameron Road, Digamartin. The mother told CNC3 News that she was searching frantically through the rubble to find her baby, but not noticing that she was actually standing on another one of her children who was caught under the rubble. Samson Nanton and Neil Romain worked on this story.
This is Cameron Road in Digamartin, if you can still call it a road, almost entirely impassable, huge boulders having come down the hill, clean-up operations here taking place from just after dawn. But up ahead, a bigger problem. This landslide came down just after 6 and took a house down with it, while Natalie LaRoche and her 3 children, aged 1 year old, and 2 others, aged 4 and 7, were inside.
Everything came down. I was on top of my son was on top of my daughter, the baby. I couldn't find the baby, but the baby was right which part the roof end is which part I found my baby.
She told us she managed to find everyone and with the help of the neighbors got out of the house without any major injuries, although her daughter was later vomiting.
Just my daughter, she was complaining about pains in her stomach. Pain in her stomach. She was vomiting. It's just because I was through a window. I was through the window. It's just the window what cut me and lashed me on my face here. You know, couldn't do anything. Split seconds, everything just came down.
Her husband Andy was working at the time. He says he was trying to expand his house and now everything is gone.
When I get a call, in 5 minutes time they call back. The house gone. And we just at a little construction to go bigger for the family to be more comfortable.
They are now seeking whatever help that they can get.
There's always say who in the pot can feel the heat. Yeah. And we're feeling the heat right now.
For CNC3, I'm Samson Anton.
And over to Maraval, where hopelessness and despair overcame parts of the area as almost every single watercourse burst its banks and flooding dozens of homes in the low-lying areas. Our crew visited La Saiva, where many of the homes were hardest hit. Residents there in particular said the experience of flooding is on an annual basis, but they admit this may just be the worst they've ever seen in their history. Rhea Ramberley with cameraman Manu Ragbear bring back this report for you.
It's being described as the worst floods in history, as 2 hours of torrential rains left parts of Maraval reeling from floods and landslides. This was the situation at La Saiva, Maraval, where floodwaters pushed vehicles off the roads, this car sitting on top of a gate. But inside La Saiva Terrace, the damage was extensive.
This is the first time that the water, that the flooding was so bad that it came into the main house. Because like last year, the flood that happened last year, November, yeah, we got some mud in the driveway, but nothing.
How shocked are you?
Nothing like this.
Robin Edwards and Judy Shepherd, both of Young Power Avenue, La Saiva, were at a loss for words as their home was completely covered in mud and debris. Edwards told us she was asleep when she awoke to the sound of a loud bang.
The water came down with such force on the street that it busted the hinges of the gate off. The mechanism for the arm is completely bent. It looks like a hook instead of straight. And basically once the gate broke, all hell broke loose.
She recalled that water started coming through the floorboards of her home, and in less than 5 minutes, she was knee-deep in floods. Her landlord, Judy, a resident of La Saiva for 60 years, says she was trapped inside of her apartment.
It was so powerful that all the doors were like sealed. I was sealed in at the back and I could not get out. None of the doors could open, and it just kept rising higher and higher. So we were like on top of the kitchen part.
She lost everything in this flood.
It was bad, like I think it was 2008. It was quite bad, but nothing like this. It just gets worse and worse.
There were many more homes in the Maraval area severely affected, mostly those located near to water courses. Residents say the flooding began just after 6 this morning when the Lasaiva River burst its banks. Crews were quick at work at the river, clearing debris from a low-lying bridge. Michael Budusing of Fred's Hardware and General Contractors told us they volunteered their services upon word of the widespread devastation.
A lot of houses were actually affected, so we sent a lot of hand labor manpower into the actual homes to bring the stuff out to the roads, and then we started to cart away the stuff.
He estimates it will take a few days to clear all the water courses and remove mud and debris from the roadways. Meanwhile, residents say their homes never fully recovered from last year's floods, and they believe it may take months again to get back on their feet. Residents say they cannot even begin to estimate their losses. For CNC3, I'm Ria Rambali.
And across Maraval, businesses remained closed today as the floods resulted in considerable loss. When we visited the area, many businesses from the roundabout at Maraval all the way into Lasaiva remained closed. Mud and debris had made its way onto many premises. Some were not so lucky. This particular furniture store, called the Bossier store, was completely flooded out, causing hundreds of thousands of dollars to high-end furniture in the shop. Further down, dust on the roadway prevented many from opening their doors. And close to Lasaiva, this Sherwin-Williams store was spared major damage inside. Outside, however, covered in mud. Now, this clothing store, the manager there says she lost everything and it will take a while before she can reopen her doors.
Everything is estimate. Well, I now opened this store and I now got new stock. So I am talking over $100,000 in clothes and computer.
Now, when Western Trinidad experienced similar havoc late last year, few thought it would have happened again and so soon, but it has happened. Some residents told us that this is the worst they've ever seen. Here's our team cameraman Vern Tickersing with our reporter Charlene Ramdani, who spoke to the residents along the Digger Martin area for this report.
The Digger Martin main road was littered with debris today as the floodwaters receded, leaving a mess. Businesses along the Digger Martin main road were devastated. As the Digger Martin River overflowed its banks this morning, it left mud and chaos everywhere. The All Creatures Pet Hospital was lucky their animals were safe.
So far, thank God, our dogs are fine. Our personal dogs. We don't have any boarding. Thank God for that.
Is this your first experience?
No, November 3 years ago, November, yes, the same thing. Our wall and everything went down. But so far, everything.
So it's really frustrating for you, I imagine.
I am fed up because, I mean, look at the condition of this place.
Over the Digger Martin Highway, people ran from their homes to neighbours' homes higher up as water reportedly poured in through their windows.
Floodwaters, mud, mud, and more mud. Residents of Western Trinidad have become victims of a second deluge in less than 10 months. With 2 deaths and countless losses, it's safe to say that the region of concern during the rainy season is shifting from central Trinidad to Western Trinidad for the authorities.
On Chumamanca Avenue, the residents were still trying to get the upper hand